Oh, yeah. Go, me boy. Something a bit low. I'm savage, caballero. She
Funny
probably
them.
so ways up. So we be make a guy cry.
Come in, y'all. Come in. Come in. I love this so much. I love Hollywood doing this performance so much. So excited. You know, he's the words. Come in, y'all. And subscribe. Hi, Doctor. No, like if you're on DBS, you know. Like if you're on DBS, you know. Never live, y'all. Never live.
Oh man,
It's a good one tonight. Are you ready tonight? Come on in. Ready to roll? Never live, y'all. All right. All right. All right. All right, Congress.
Thank you, everybody, and enjoy
Everybody, thank you, everybody. Yes. 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 All right. All righty. All righty. Happy Friday. Good evening, Greg. Good evening, Jackie. Share the live, y'all. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gift that I'm receiving tonight, and I'm offering it to you. I have the wonderful opportunity to speak to Mr. Alex Pawol Bruno. And here he is, the man of the hour. The man of the hour, Mr. Alex Pawol Bruno. Welcome, Alex. I can't hear you well now.
Hi. What's going on?
Fine, I am fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I love that flag in the background.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I always try to use my flag as my backdrop because I am a consummate patriot.
Isn't it something? I think we would wrap ourselves in the flag if we could, right?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I so believe in the flag, and the flag is more important to me because of my mentor, Alwyn
Mhm.
Bully, of very blessed memory. I mean, he
Yes,
designed this flag, and to me, I'm even wearing the flag now with more pride after his passing, because just
yes,
he just meant so much to my professional life and other
yes.
things, you know. So,
Oh,
yeah, man.
well, I am very happy you said yes tonight. I see
Yeah,
people are joining. Y'all come in, share the live. This is a what I hope to be a very meaningful and thoughtful conversation. I think almost every Dominican knows you, Alex.
yes, I think
And
so.
more often than not, you're the person on the other side
Yeah,
asking people questions. So again, I do feel very honored that you said yes. For those
yeah.
people who don't know Alex, if you're not from Dominica, even if you are from Dominica, I looked at Alex's resume and I just said to him, "Man, your resume is a book." But I'm going to do a little synopsis, right? So, Mr. Bruno, Alex Bruno, earned his bachelor's degree in philosophy with a minor in theater. He just mentioned Alwyn Bully, and a master's degree in political science. You also have another master's degree, Alex. What is that in?
International studies, international
International
relations.
studies.
Hmm.
And you are currently working on your doctoral degree.
Yeah, on the cross, just about there.
So you're in higher education language. Are you ABD, which is all but doctor?
All but it. That's it. That's it.
Wow,
You
wow. So
got it.
yes, you're ABD. You're all
All
but
but the.
Doctor
Yep.
Bruno. I
Yep.
love this. So, what is your doctoral degree? What are you working on in your
Again, it's
doctoral degree?
international relations
Mhm.
with focus on identity politics. My research is going to be on the Caribbean.
Identity politics.
Yeah.
I think you have a lot of meat for that matter.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
So, you are also an author. You
Yes.
have conducted several research assignments on Dominica,
Hmm?
including your groundbreaking National Scientific Political Survey on the electability of Dominica political candidates in 2017, right
Oh yeah.
before the 2019 elections.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was the like the coming out one. I mean, I did others before that, but the 2017 survey was a huge project. It was an expensive project. Yeah.
It was an expensive project, and I think it was a very impactful
Oh yeah,
project.
yeah. It created some, buzz and
I want to talk about that tonight, so we're going to get there.
yeah.
Yes, I want us to talk about that tonight.
Mhm.
And in addition, you're a constant contributor to political debates in Dominica.
Yeah.
You're a man of culture, you're a man of art, theater, ongoing education, a lot of community based service.
Mhm.
I mean, we could spend, I think, the whole night talking about the work that you've done, but because this is Diaspora Stories, I want to hear your diaspora story.
Yeah.
How did you get here? Because you live in the US a lot of the time.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
Well, my first foray into U.S. territory was through St. Croix.
Mm,
I got a visitor's visa in 1988 when I was old enough to travel and to get it with Peter George, my dear friend. We went to Barbados and we got our visa, B1, B2 indefinite. So in those days, that was like a green card, B1, B2.
mm,
So I
it's a
moved to,
lottery.
yes, I moved to St. Croix.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in an area called Calhoun,
Hmm.
um, and tried to do the hustle to get to the mainland.
Right.
The hustle didn't work for two reasons. One, a friend and I, Alfonso, I wouldn't say his last name, but he was a very diminutive guy, about 5 feet 2 inches tall for the most at most,
Mm-hmm.
and I am closer to 6 feet than not.
Right.
And we met two sisters who were willing to do the gig with us to get married to us for papers. The sisters from Trinidad.
Uh-huh.
I am taller. Alfonso is short.
Yes.
There is a tall sister and a short sister. Alfonso wants the tall sister. So, and I say, oh, because I prefer the tall one, you know, be looks and features and everything else. So we
Uh,
didn't have an agreement. There was a stalemate. He actually got the tall sister. He got married. He moved. Shortly after I got into an accident, I moved
oh.
back to Dominica,
Mm-hmm.
and I eventually traveled to New York on my B1 B2. Spent some time in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't enjoying it there because of the weather.
Mm.
It was too cold, and I
Mm-hmm.
moved to Florida.
Okay.
And that's pretty much where I've been since. I have been going to and fro to Florida and Dominica. I've been in between the countries for like 20 years now.
Okay.
And I have been residing here, well, more regularly
Mm-hmm.
over the past, let's say, 10, 15, 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Florida is like a second home. It's like a hop away from home. And most of what I do is in Florida. I actually work here as a professor.
Yes.
So that keeps me very engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much how I got
How old were you when you did that?
for 18. I feel I started at 18.
Wow.
18, you know. Because growing up in Calibishi, there were not very many opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to do something because I had already by then I fathered a son, my first boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not by 18. I went up in my I wouldn't say in credit, I went back down to Dominica. When I went back down, I had
Mm-hmm.
my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 19, going on 20. So it has been, and then I don't want to give you the full story, but there was a time when I tried to move and I had certain plans put in place and the plans didn't work the way I wanted them to work, and I actually had to relocate back to Dominica. So it has been a hustle for me to try to make something out of myself, because if I had remained in Calibishi and maybe in Dominica the way things were, I might not have been able to be who I am today. So I was adamant. I wanted to get out. I did all I had to do to get out, and today I'm here.
Yeah. What did you do before? What did you do before?
So
Because you left pretty young.
yes, so I grew up in Calibishi, and oh boy, let me tell you about Calibishi. Calibishi is a cultural community.
Mm.
So I grew up and I emulated the life of the residents from Calibishi, people like Meredith Celestine. Oh my God, I love this lady so much. She's a stunt, very red. She doesn't get more labor right than Meredith. And I'm not a labor right, and Meredith and I are buddies to the bone. So
Yeah.
people like her, Ali, Louisa, now Matthew, her Derek Louisa, her brother Cameron, George, Sonny, and Garrett, and these guys were bigger guys, and I kind of liked their vibe. They were doing plays and skits. People like Tao and Etta and these people too. They were doing drama as well. So I kind of
Like local within the village.
within the village, yeah. And we used to have talent shows. We used to go and see them put on shows. So I kind of got a good feeling for theater and the arts from my community. And then I got involved in Calibishi, in community life, because my grandfather was a community man. May he rest in peace. He was in village council. He was in credit union. So I, at the age of 18, was already a counselor.
Yeah. Wow.
You
18.
know, the youngest counselor in Calibishi.
Wow.
And I also got involved in teaching at a young age. When I was, well, I didn't go to high school when I was 13. I got to do my exams, did my exam, and I was disqualified by Didin because she felt that something, well, what happened is I finished early. I was walking out and I picked up one of the guy's paper on the floor to give it back to him. So somehow Didin was just saw that happening, and she felt probably it was a cheating matter, and probably I was disqualified. I had to have been, because there were three of the smartest guys in school at the time. Was Richie, and I. And the other Richie, two Nixons and Alex Bruno. The two other guys got scholarship. They went to high school. I
And
didn't.
you,
I didn't even come out on the supplementary list. Do you know what this means, right? There used to
right.
be scholarships, bursaries, pass, and supplementary.
That was if in case a school had an extra
Open
seat or
up. Right.
something.
So I did not even get on the supplementary list.
Wow.
It was just it was just not right. So I later observed that probably she might have reported and took me out of the thing, disqualified me. Long
Mm-hmm.
story short, I eventually went to high school at when I was 14, 15,
Mm-hmm.
because I did the school living certificate examination and
Yes.
got a grade one certificate
Yes.
at the
Wow.
time. And but before I went to high school, I was a teacher. I taught at Calabishi School as a pupil. As a student, I taught students in Calabishi Government School. So I was playing cricket for the school. As a teacher, we went to Vegas to play one time, and the folks from Vegas are saying, "Oh, a teacher should not play." But I was under 15.
Wow.
I was an assistant teacher holding for Miss James,
Uh-huh.
who was on maternity leave, and I was doing a good job as a teacher. I was still a student. I had to play, so I played, and they were making a big stink about me, a teacher playing for the schoolboy. So then I was a coach. I coached the girls to play rounders,
Mm-hmm.
volleyball, netball. I coached football, cricket. Everybody in Calabishi, I was their coach.
Mm-hmm.
Before I was called on national trials for 4 years in a row under 19, and I kind of moved away from Calabishi, starting to live in Roseau. I
Mm-hmm.
never made the youth team. I made the Dominican national senior team for
Oh,
one
really?
year. I didn't qualify to go to St. Well, I qualified, but they didn't tour me to St. Lucia. And I
Mm-hmm.
resigned from cricket at the age of 19, 20. I just resigned because the press was too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's around that time I started thinking of moving out because I didn't see me making any headway. And it was around that time I said, you know what, probably I should try to look for greener pastures. So I tried America. It didn't quite work. I came back a few times. I
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of hustle in terms of doing insurance sales work. I
Yeah.
did that as an insurance salesperson for a little while. Um, I worked. Oh, I worked at an airline, Nature Island Airline, Air Carib Dominica Limited. I
It
was
was
there.
a Dominica-based airline.
Yes, Air Carib, Nature Island. With a Frenchman who owned the airline. I was the
Yeah.
flight operations manager, actually, at a young age, very
Yeah.
young age. I remember going to Switzerland to do a course. And this was a real nice experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a little while. And then I decided probably I should try radio. I went to DBS and I was told that I wasn't qualified. Of course, I wasn't qualified.
Right.
I volunteered, however, at DBS for a few years, and then I went to VOI, Voice of the Island
I
Radio.
remember that station. Yes.
Matt Peltier, Moses Raphael Jr., Julian Morris, and this guy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pearl Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so after a while in 1992, 1993, Kyrie FM opened up,
Mm-hmm.
and Esley, may she rest well, heard my voice and told her boyfriend Govey at the time, who owned the station, that he needs to get me to work for him because it was felt that I had a lovely radio voice.
Right.
So he called me, he gave me a break. Kyrie started. Kyrie catch a fire in Dominica.
Wow.
And then DBS called me, say, well,
Mm.
you are now qualified. So I joined DBS and I stayed quite some
Isn't
time at
that like
DBS.
life?
Yes.
How
Um,
long did you stay at DBS?
oh boy, I started at DBS in 1996
Mm-hmm.
and I left at 2010.
Oh,
That is, so I
just like
stayed quite some
6
time at
years.
DBS.
Yes.
And then the politics was just too much. I was fired twice at DBS because of politics.
Right. What do you mean because of politics? That's a general.
Well, I was doing a program called Positively Dominica,
Mm-hmm.
where Mr. Joseph, the manager, had asked me to produce a 5-minute program to be aired on the station before in the mornings, before the
Mm-hmm.
news. But that was in the election time. And in hindsight, I felt that might have been a program to boost the government at the time. But as a worker, I didn't know, and I was doing my program.
Mm-hmm.
So when Labour won, they fired me. I was fired forthwith. And of course, I challenged it and got
Yeah.
back on the job. So that was the first termination.
Mm-hmm.
I was terminated a second time again.
On
Like,
the same station.
on DBS, yeah, twice on DBS. Yeah. And after I got back on the establishment, I resigned my post as a full-time employee and I became a part-timer like Leroy Waddick's Charles. We were two special announcers who we brought to DBS from Kyrie by Dennis Joseph. Because when Dennis was offered the job to come to manage DBS from Kyrie, he moved both of us from Kyrie and brought us with him.
Yes.
And created two positions for us, two special announcers positions.
Yes.
So when all the pressure of the politics came down on me, I decided to resign from the DBS establishment as a full-time staff. And I worked as a special announcer.
Oof.
Yeah, go back to my original position that I was originally placed in. I mean, after my first termination, I was rehired, and not just as an announcer, special announcer, as a full-time staff. Because they said the contract that I was given was a no contract, and by virtue of that, I am now a full-time staff. I'm on the establishment of DBS Radio. And that made some people angrier that now Alex Bruno is on DBS's establishment, we're going to kill him.
So when you say that made people angrier, you're talking about the political climate had changed to that degree by then?
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, man. But I got to DBS while the UWP was in office. And it was believed that UWP was the one who, well, of course, the government has the influence over who becomes manager and the operations of the station. So because Dennis brought me and Waddick's with him, they saw us as a blue crew. And the pressure was that. And I was never into the blue thing, you know. It's later on I decided to kind of lend my support and do some like work behind the scenes. We'll talk about that a bit later on. So that is where the pressure was, man. Hey, it wasn't easy, Dr. Triffy.
Well, so can you give me an example when you say pressure? Because I think a lot, we speak, but it's not personal to many people. So what does that mean, pressure?
Things like, just think of anything that could be done to someone on a job to harass them, to put them off their game. One time I was told that people were complaining about me, that they did not like the way I spoke, that I do not read well, that I sound country, and they had to pull me off the radio. They pulled me off the radio.
But you were the same person that they had said prior.
Exactly. So they pulled me off the radio and put me into sales or something like that. Nothing doing with radio, nothing doing with broadcast or on air.
Yes.
And they told me 6 months to get my skills back together, and they put me back on the radio. So for 6 months, I just sit down, I cover my spots with Curtis Matthew, and I went around do what I have to do. And then constantly put me back on. They gave me a demo to do. I did the demo. I was told, wow, remarkable improvement. Dr. Triffy, I did nothing not to prepare. I just waited for the 6 months and I just read the script the manager gave me to read.
Like you had been doing.
Like I had been doing. So it was just things like that. So I got back on. And then they would take away certain chores for me and let me not do it. So certain programs I would just not have to do, especially when certain people were coming to be interviewed, I could not interview them. That was not for me. That was for someone else to do. So they would call another staff member to do it while I'm there. So I have to pick up my seat, have that person's seat as a senior announcer, do the interview and put me back in.
So I would imagine, a lot of discomfort and maybe attempts to embarrass, attempts to shame.
To shame. I was then after that, it was told that somebody complained about me. They took me off the air again and they put me in sales. Mr. Joseph, my dear friend. And I stayed there. They gave me a contract to do sales, whatever flat salary and a commission.
So they changed this. They started messing with the money.
With the money, man. It made it difficult. Every sale I made, somebody said, "Oh, I had sold that person 5 years ago, so that's not a new sale. That you can't get commission for that." Oh Lord, Dr. Triffy. And then other things as well, like getting written up serious misconduct because I interviewed somebody, I think that guy who was actually the trumpeter.
Yeah.
The time I kind of arranged to interview him as a lone ranger, I felt he had a story. And I got written up serious misconduct letter for that. And that was my second warning letter. After the third letter, I would have been terminated.
Ouch.
So you know what, man? I said, let me just leave that for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's around 2009-ish, 10-ish, and I decided I'm going to really go with this time. So I
Yes.
applied for study leave. I
Mm-hmm.
got study leave, and I went away to study. I am still studying, so I'm
Yeah.
technically still staff.
Yes.
But after the last election, that was the third termination. I was terminated again because I used to do a program called Diaspora Link
Uh-huh.
with Paben, a program that we created
Mm-hmm.
where we would connect with the diaspora. And
Right.
we did a really wonderful program. So I got a letter after the last 2019 election telling me that the program, DBS is going to reorganize its programming and my program has to be suspended until further notice. So
Mm-hmm.
it took me off the air because that program was what kept my contract going with DBS. So they felt
Right.
that they took me off the radio, my contract would die.
Yes.
I'm not ready to deal with DBS as yet. When I'm ready, I will ask them a few questions because my 25 years of service is not going to go, wasted.
Right.
They were the ones to discontinue me. I didn't ask to be discontinued, and I'm still studying.
Mm-hmm. So
So,
technically, you're still affiliated with the organization.
based on the arrangement that we had when I got
Right.
my study leave to travel out here.
Right. Wow. Y'all, please share the live. Everybody, just share the live right now. Alex, as you were talking about all of the machinations, I felt a little pang of anxiety for the young lady who spoke up recently, but you don't have to say anything about that, but I wonder how people like her are doing in that kind of system.
If she is going through half of what I went through, poor
Hmm.
I'm not too sure that her days will be very long if she's
Um,
going through what I'm going through.
right, right,
And I didn't really tell you everything because I do not want to fall out with DBS in any way.
right.
I have no ill will against anybody there,
Hmm.
including the now manager who was the one who last terminated me.
Right.
Because I will, like as I've done on the last two occasions, I'll get back in. I'm going to challenge them eventually, and I'll get my benefit that I earned at DBS for a couple.
Right, right. Your service.
It goes without saying.
Mhm.
I'm just not ready as yet. But we'll take care of that when the time comes.
So, okay, so a couple other things I want you to talk a little bit about before we start coming into the politics piece. Something I have felt a lot of interest in and was very impressed with the work you've done is regarding our centenarian
Oh boy.
people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh my word.
All
Thank
of us, I need to hear more. How did you
Thank you.
start that? Tell me more.
No one has asked me that question but you.
Oh, really?
No, nobody seems to be interested in that. Because I guess because of what the movement has evolved into being. But here's how we started honoring the centenarians.
Mm-hmm.
My great grandmother, Mama Amelia Bruno,
Mm-hmm.
was 103 years old when she died. And upon her death, which was not normal, and I won't really get into the circumstances of her death
Mm-hmm.
because it implicates a member of my family who is now deceased.
Mm-hmm.
So just let that lie.
Mm-hmm.
So I start missing my great grandmother to the extent where I would see her appearing to me most nights.
Yes.
She would
Yes.
tell me the way she would speak, Leko, how you do? That's how she would speak, tall and lanky.
Mm-hmm.
And she always advised me to do something good for my people. And when
Mm-hmm.
I got the job at DBS, she came to me and said, do something good for them, nigga.
Mm-hmm.
I telling me what to do. So I say, well, if my great grandmother tells me to do something good, one, I'm going to do positively, Dominica.
Right.
Two, I'm going to look after the well-being of centenarians because she was one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look through the eyes of the older people, I see my great grandmother.
Yes.
So that is my natural inclination to appreciating elderly Dominicans and people all over the world because I see my great grandmother
So it
in.
was a way to honor your great grandmother too.
That is my centenarian story.
Yes. Yes.
So I was at DBS doing my business. This lady called Jennifer Parillo from Portsmouth called me and told me that there is a lady called Mapampu
Yes.
who is believed to be old because they got some document and I think you are the best person, Alex, to come because I was the man on the broadcast
Yes.
in terms of connecting the dots in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
And then she told me that there's a lady called Mapason in Granville here. Go and talk to her. She has the information. So I came down to Passy and I talked to Mapason. I see the lady called Mapampo. I look at her, I see my great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Then they told me, let's go by the church. We went by the church. I talked to a lady, Miss Peters' lady. I looked for the document for Pampo. They told me that's what they have of Pampo. I said 1875.
Wow.
I said, well, how could that be? She would have been 120 something years. That's not right.
Yeah.
So I did make a research. I interviewed my Pampo. She told me her husband was a man called something George. Ernest George. Penville, better known as Pierre Mouton. I went to Penville as a researcher, asking for Pierre Mouton. The elderly in Penville tell me they do not know that name, but they know of a man who his father might have been Ernest. There are people who are going back to Pampo's era, but they do not know the Ernest. They know of somebody who died whose father might have been Ernest from Penville.
So they're backtracking in your research. Yes.
So I was able to, because of that, and because Pampo told me she was taught by a teacher, Keynes, on Picard, and who was the overseer at the time. And then she told me her one child was a guy named Burley, who she had with a stud from Quadrinton in Barbuda.
Wow.
Back in the day, the studs were still existing. So Pampo was in plantation life. And she also told me that she traveled with her mother from Collyho to live in Picard on the estate under a thatch house. So I put all the clues together and was able to agree that she was indeed born in 1817.
Yes.
And I went across to Miami with my lovely friend Paben. We created the Pampo Foundation, registered in Florida. It's still a business in Florida.
Yes.
And we collected stuff. We raised a 40-foot container of stuff for the centenarians. We shipped that down. We interviewed every centenarian in Dominica. We had 20-something at the time.
Right.
The movement.
Right.
Dr. Trifi, we got free light, free water, free electricity, free phone for every centenarian every month. The centenarians like Pampo and Auntie Rose, they were on the phone card.
Wow.
They got free food from Brisbane, Whole Foods, Whole Farm Foods every month. A basket of food being delivered to their house.
Yes.
And every now and then I would make my round with a fella called Daryl Teat, my dear friend, and Jermaine Roy, and we would make sure the centenarians are okay. Go down.
Right.
So at one time later on, Lauren Bannis Roberts, minister, who was a dear friend of mine, she had left the UWP, but she still was my friend. She still is my friend. She told me that the Prime Minister wants to do something called Yes We Care. And she invited us to a meeting at Fort Young Hotel. So I went to the meeting and I want to give advice because Yes We Care, government getting involved, I'm happy.
Right.
But I was told, to my greatest dismay, that the government didn't seek my intervention. They wanted to inform us that they were taking over the program and they had a different idea for the program. So the Yes We Care, the Pampo Foundation work and all my advocacy and my excitement became a Yes We Care initiative, and the corporate help that we sourced just dried up. And I think the government now took over and doing something different with it, but that wasn't designed. In fact, did I tell you as well, the National Bank of Dominica, they also gave cash vouchers to the centenarians as well.
Wow. So it went from a community-based organizational supports, right, where citizens are helping each other, to the government decided, well, we're going to, I guess.
So, and that's what it was. No, I'm not saying that Yes We Care is the Pampo, is our movement, but it replaced what we were doing.
Right.
And I just had no choice but to back away. And I had not gotten invited to anything since. They do everything, and no invitation, no invite, nothing. And I just have all my archives. I held it back, all my interviews. I just posted a picture a while ago of Miss Glenn.
Are you going to publish this at any point?
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
Eventually, yes. But I just didn't want to step on the government's toes to do much. People would come to me and ask me for information. I tell them, go to the Ministry of the appropriate ministry, and they come back to me and say they didn't get it. I say, well, I'm not permitted to. I mean, I
Well,
just
I
can't.
think this is so critical. Like, I think that it's so powerful. Our centenarian history in Dominica. Essentially, our elders were creating a little blue zone down there.
Yeah, and that bothered me a little. But then by then, I had understood what politics can do and what people will do to people's legacy for them to ascend. And
Yes,
I just know the love that I have in my heart for the elderly. And even if I cannot get to do it actively, at least when I see someone who is willing to speak with me, I
hmm,
speak through them, I look through their eyes, and I see my great grandmother, and that keeps
right,
me. So I really wished, and I would have done the Yes We Care thing with the government for free. I didn't think we needed to get paid for that. I mean, right
right,
now, I think they pay people to comb people here. The family did that before. I just supplied the grease, the Vaseline, and the
right.
comb.
The
The
community
food.
spirit, the connections were
Yeah.
kept.
But
The
all of that
connection,
was thick enough, I think. I
yeah.
was full, and
Hmm.
so that was my vibe. The centenarian was a personal thing with my
Right.
family dynamics, my great grandmother, and my
Hmm.
natural love for people who have lived a long life. That's what really occasioned it.
Yeah.
And DBS through Mr. Joseph, and then Jermaine Ray and Daryl Teets too. He was very instrumental in doing the field work, going around interviewing the centenarians, taking pictures. I
Hmm.
mean, we had everybody documented on camera. SAS
Yeah.
television was involved as well. I have all the videos, of the stories, the philosophy of the centenarians. And the good thing
Right.
about it, Dr. Triffy, they all told me at different times over like 2, 3 year period what they think is the recipe for living long. And I have it. It is
See,
not about the food and everything we're talking about.
right.
And when I connect the interviews, they all say the same thing at one point in time. And we have it. I have it. And it's just that I just telling myself I just not motivated to do anything because
What
of,
is it? What is the secret of life based on
well,
what they've said to you
I will tell you
in
in
a general
person.
way?
I
You'll
will
tell
tell
me
you in
in person?
person. But it
Mm.
has to do with self-contentment,
Yes.
balance
Yes.
in everything,
Yes.
purity
Across
of
the board.
yeah, purity of mind and relaxation.
Yes.
And I'll tell you some other things too in person, in private.
Yes.
Private. But
Yes.
the food thing was not the thing. The food is okay, but
Right.
people do their little booze, they do their little smoking and everything else. Some of the
It's
men
the
had,
way they lived. It was the mindset. It
yeah,
was
it's
the
all
way
about
they
the
lived.
mind and the centrality of thought and balance.
Yes. 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 Well, the reason you all came here today was to hear a little politics. Alex, what happened with UWP?
Um, so I joined. Okay, my grandmother was a laborite. My grandfather was a laborite. I lived with them. I
Hmm.
was fed by labor's milk.
Yes.
My mother and father, I never knew which party they supported, but I didn't live with them. I was born and grew up in Calibishi. My parents lived in Woodford Hill.
Hmm.
I cannot honestly tell you which parties my mom and my dad supported. I just know they voted. I became a member of the YFM.
I was going to ask you if you were ever part of the Freedom Party.
Oh yeah, man. Because at that time, when I was a kid, before I could vote, I went to Salisbury at a caucus
Yes.
for the Freedom Party, and I sang a song of King Obstinate called Children Melee.
Yes.
Because at the time, young progressive children was moving towards the Freedom Party, the new political idea.
Right.
Innocent boy went there. We do. I think Hector John was also around. He was a member of the YFM for Salisbury.
Hmm.
So I did that, like every other younger person.
Hmm.
But when UWP came on the scene in 1988, a gentleman by the name of Edgar Jerome, whom I worked for when I left school, high
Hmm.
school,
Hmm.
in 1985, 86. That was my first job at Northeastern Timbers.
Hmm.
He was getting to be a candidate for UWP. He
Mm.
has a brand new vehicle, air conditioned. I want to be around the bling. So I decided to follow my manager wherever he went,
Right.
carried
Right.
his, carried his bag, hold his briefcase, and I played heavy because I mean that makes me look good in the eyes of the chicks.
Right.
So naturally, I gravitated towards UWP. Peter Carbon, who was a member candidate for Wesley, who replaced Edgar Jerome, is my cousin, my blood cousin. Mr. James, whom I did not know, used to be stopping at my grandfather's home every now and then. So I had a natural pull towards UWP. And I later, after leaving my job at Northeastern Timbers, where I was a sawdust guy and I used to do stock keeping, then I was graduated to the office to do a little bookkeeping with Mr. Thomas from Benz. I decided to go to Roseau to join the police force. I joined the police force in 1990.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, together with my friend, my classmate, Derek Hunter, Derek St. Rose.
Okay, Hunter.
Bill and the present commissioner.
Oh.
That was my classmate as well.
Okay.
So a couple of days, or I think about a week into the training, I got into training, enlisted. I got my uniform issued with barracks, with training.
Right.
I was called down to the police headquarters in Roseau. Not Bernabid, Alpi. Alpi took me down and I met with Mr. Valerie and I think it was Commissioner Pierre at the time. And I was told that allegations were brought that I was a delegate member of the UWP and under such condition I had to be relieved from my position.
What?
Yes. That my party bias will prelude me from doing my job as a constable. So I'm like, what is that? I do not even know what it means to be a delegate. I know I was with Mr. Jerome.
Right.
I was not, I didn't know. I was not even a member. I had never been a member of UWP. Never. Yeah. I had never worn a t-shirt. I was just around the vibes. So they fired me from the police service.
And this is 1985?
1990.
1990. So who's in power at the time?
The different party.
Freedom Party, right.
Yeah. So they fired me. I was a YFM, I do all kind of things for them 5 years before, but all of a sudden they fired me. So I went to my friend's home in River Street. I cried for about a week.
Ooh.
But then I got paid for 1 month, and boy, that pay was good. That was the most money I ever made.
In Dominica?
The pay was good.
Yeah.
So I took my little thing, and I decided I was so ashamed that I'm not going back to Calibishi.
Wow.
Because I'd left Calibishi and I was already playing like a police, because in Calibishi, back in the day, I was running the station when the police would have gone out to do the little fatigue around the block.
Yeah.
They would be with me in the station. Honestly, I wouldn't lie. I would take the phone and I had access to certain things I will not say.
Wow.
I had to defend myself.
Yes.
And the inspector would call and say, Bruno, are you the one? I say, yes, sir. And he would give me my message. I would make my notes in the book and everything. So I was a police before I was a police. And there were two energies in Calibishi. One, at my time as a boy, there was a big drug problem where a number of people were going down that road. And maybe me and Augustine and a couple other guys were going down the other road.
Yeah.
So I felt so bad after I was fired to go back to the village. I said, I'm not going back.
Oof.
I stayed in Roseau. I did what I had to do. And I keep going back, but not to stay, because I just felt it wasn't right. So because I got fired for UWP, I was branded UWP.
Right.
And since then, the brand stayed from me.
Yes.
And I had never gotten anything easy in Dominica between 1990 and 2010. It had always been an uphill task, an uphill battle where I got pressed, where I didn't get the things that I really should have gotten. And that's why I said I had to leave, because for 30 years almost, nothing really worked for me because of the politics and everything else.
Right.
So in 2015, thereabout 16, I started writing. I started studying.
Yes.
I started doing my political essays and stuff like that. And I guess that caught the attention of some in the UWP. And they felt that I knew certain stuff. And I was invited to do some survey, do some work, and I did it for them. And I was eventually appointed as the strategist of the party for the 2019 elections. Appointed strategist. But that was it. I was just appointed. I really was not allowed to work. I think my problem was I tried to work with Malon. Where's Malon? Say them again. The Malon in Texas.
Girodell?
Malon Girodell, yeah. when I got the job as a strategist, I knew Marlon. Now Marlon is so savvy and skillful that I felt Marlon would be the best person to work with because Marlon understands politics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the management liked that, and maybe because of that, I was just excommunicated. So as strategist, I never got the opportunity to
To
implement the plan.
implement. So you were strategist in name
Yeah.
and not in practice.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about the poll then that you conducted. Was that on behalf of the UWP, or was that a personal decision to conduct a poll?
No, the 2017 poll was a private poll. I did it. So they didn't sanction it. But a couple others they did sanction that I must confess. Again, I don't really tell untruths to people. I shared these with you, and you are free to express whatever you want to express from those. It's your choice.
Yes,
It's
yes,
okay with me if you do.
yeah,
Or if you ask me about it, I'll tell you as well.
right.
But I had to share it with you because of the problem that I encountered where too many people believe that I misled UWP, I lied to them, I deceived them, I gave them wrong information, and everything is written in black and white, as you would have seen. And I really do not like what has been said by a few. So I'm hoping that this we can address some of those tonight for the people who are interested. Because no matter what you say, sometimes if
Right.
people are not interested, they wouldn't take you on.
Well, here's the thing. That poll, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I read a lot. So I think if we're talking about the same poll after the 20, I want to say the 2019 elections,
Yes,
it was published by Wick News, and I know I read this stuff like 80 something pages. How long
yes.
was that? Like a book, essentially, like a
It,
dissertation.
it
Like
was a major project, $100,000 project.
wow.
Yeah,
So from the results, I'm going to read some of the results, right?
yeah,
From the results section, you say results of a scientific survey suggest that the DLP, as in the Dominica Labour Party, will hold on to governing power in the Parliament of Dominica should elections be held on the day that you submitted the report.
yeah.
Um, and most respondents were thinking that the DLP would retain at least 11 seats, and you identified them: Vacas, Portsmouth, Cottage, Grand Bay, Paybush, Collyho, Salibiela, Plains of Freya, Castle Bruce, and Maho. And the Petite Savan constituency is a contingency seat, which could also be called for the DLP based on the polling data. That one was a bit inconclusive, it sounds like, from your data. And you were really saying if the data held, that the Labour Party would win, even though the mandate might be less, and that it would take a Herculean task, as in Hercules, Hercules, Hercules,
Hmm.
for the UWP to win. Um, and that you were also saying that that task is somewhat impeded. Oh wow, that was a bit fiery in your report. You said the ability of the UWP to win, given the obstacles, would be Herculean, given what you called and you identified to them or expressed to them was what you thought was incoherent messaging of the opposition party, compounded at the time by the public legal distraction of its leader.
Yeah.
So do you think so? Okay, so I'm a social scientist too. So we
Mhm.
depend on surveys, we depend on data
Yeah.
to draw conclusions, and you trust the information that you get. You do the best you can, and
Yeah.
you trust the data. Do you think what do you think happened with that? Because it seemed confusing, seemed like a lot of confusion after that.
Well, a poll is a snapshot
Hmm.
of a particular period
In
and
time, all
in
right.
time, and that picture could change the day after, the next day, the week after. So it was that a poll essentially is good for a week or two.
Right,
Whatever happened after the poll was happened, I do not know. I mean, things could have
right,
changed.
right,
But
right.
at the time, what I saw was what I reported on, and I think my people, based on the training that we did a fabulous job. And as you said, data is what really informs you. Even if the data is a bit kind of not as accurate, but
Right,
at least it is better than none.
right, right,
Another time, I think I offered the best, and people said that I told UWP that they would have won. And here you're reading what I said. I didn't say
right.
it would have taken a Herculean task.
That's very opposite. to
To what
you
they
think they would have done.
charging me with. And as you said, this was published, and what I might do after tonight, I might republish this thing for people who probably forgot or had not seen it to see what I said in terms of what the data was saying. Now, when I show the picture as well, you don't poll people who come in from out to vote, and you
Right.
don't poll the propensity of the people to get people in to vote. So not only everybody had access to the reports, and people saw and did what they had to do to the report and changed the situation in any way, shape, or form. My job as a scientist is just to report on what I find,
Give the information.
give the information. So that is pretty much what it is. Never in any report that I have done have I given the indication to any party that they would win. I say, based on what the people say, here is the trend, and if things hold, here is what, and here is what is impeding somebody's position, and it's all written there in black and white.
Mhm.
So that
And,
is the
and so strategy at that time would have had to um, perhaps focus on, well, how do you mitigate the impact of the legal situation, or like, if you were giving advice.
and the message, how to hone in on the message, because the opposition has always had good message, but the messaging, how it is that they transmit the things that they want, had
Express
always
it.
been a bit of a problem.
Mhm.
And there were different kind of a hubs, different kind of a sectors. So the supporters of the party would be seen as official party information when they speak. And there was one time I said, you have to divorce your message from the supporters' message, because the supporters are not you, and your supporters might say things that can hurt you. Because
Right.
when Labour Party supporters speak, people they speak. But when Labour Party speak, you hear is that there's a demarcation, and
Voice.
science and strategy lets you know how to do that. But the
Mhm.
party has suffered because of that, and they continue to suffer because of that, because their message is not coherent. So even back in 2017, I said so.
Mhm.
And when we get to 2019 and I was made the strategist, I said the same thing.
Mhm.
And you do not want to hear the reaction I got when I said that.
What reaction did you get?
Oh, that was the most, I mean, I was insulted actually. Who do you think you are to tell me what I have to do? I have been, and I'm like, wow. So I pull away and I watch it happen. So that what was written, they had been written several times, as you would have seen on the other report that I gave you, and
Yeah.
the strategic advice that I tried to give that
Yeah.
people didn't really
Do
take.
you think we have, do you think that's a bigger problem than we admit, that our leadership, people in leadership in Dominica, do not enjoy receiving information that doesn't feel good for them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in particular, yes, I agree. And in particular, the last report that I gave that you have, that report never got to the candidates, because the report was saying a couple of things about leadership that leadership didn't want probably the candidates to see.
Oh,
The-
so
yeah,
so the candidates nobody else got the information.
nobody else, no candidate saw the report that I gave to the leadership of the party, the last one before the 2019 election. And I know for sure because they came to me asking me for it. What did you say? And they believe, some of them, that I misled, that I said things in it that was giving wrong information and telling the leader, whoever, that they're going to win, and they actually did. If you read the report, Dr. Triffi, I will support you, because I gave it to you as a professional, as a
I
scientist.
read it. I read. Yeah.
The information
Very
that I gave
detailed.
is there in black and white, and
Very detailed.
the
Yeah.
average candidate, two other people I shared it to was somebody and somebody else. They asked me for it on the team, but nobody else but you, and who else has that report? I guess, and the leadership of the team. They never shared the report to the people, to the candidates. They never called me in to say, let's talk about the things, how we can do, what we can do, how we can fix the problems that I identified.
Mm-hmm.
I even offered unsolicited stuff that I got on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So the information was withheld, and I am being blamed. I reached out to the leadership of the party that I supported, and I said, look, man, I'm being slaughtered here. People are saying that I give you wrong information. Why don't you defend me, man? At least say something.
Right.
You have to go public, but at least call a few of them and tell them. I was
Right.
told that by I taking my blows, same way. So take your blows too and see how it can happen. I'd say my professionalism is on the line. I have information that I give you, and
Right.
I still didn't share it. I only shared it with you now, Dr. Triffi, because
Right.
you invited me on the program. So it hurt. It really, really hurt to see that I gave so much. I put in so much. I did my
This,
best to give so much detailed advice.
as
And
you're talking about before you even talked about this, Marshall was noting that you have been through a lot.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah.
You have been through a lot. And the first time I wanted to ask you about that is when you talked about your common entrance exams
Yeah.
and being as smart as you were, but essentially being like just cut off at the knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was never strong enough to speak about it up until now. I never discussed that publicly. I'm telling you now because you're a professional, and
Mhm.
if I need help after the program, I know who to call.
Look, look. So you are leading to my next question, which is in relationship psychology. If it could be me and a group, it could be me and somebody else. When the relationship falls apart, usually people can point to what is called an original wound, like the first cut.
Mhm.
What was the first cut of the UWP towards you? What felt like the first cut?
When the leadership would not take my calls as strategists, and I called and they would just refuse to take my call. And the biggest of them all was when there was a scandal with some passport sale on Al Jazeera,
Right.
and I jumped on a plane at my own expense, traveled to the island, and I tried to call, and nobody took my call. No one. That was hard, Triffy, Dr. Triffy. And
Lala.
when I got to Dominica, I
Nobody
met
took your call.
no one took my call as a strategy, saying, guys, here's what we need to do to handle this thing. Jump on a plane, paid my ticket with my money. And when I got to Dominica, I met some Bajans in the office
Mm-hmm.
doing strategies. And I got to know about a St. Lucian girl who was helping the management with strategy. I'm like, but you appoint me, you're not taking my calls, and you have people
Right.
undermining me.
And you're not at least having a conversation with me to inform me that our relationship is ended. I'm going in a different direction.
That was the first cut. And secondly, I am there and I'm seeing people walking in, advisory team walking in, going to meet with the management to advise on leadership.
Yeah,
And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to go back to Florida.
I can
All
imagine.
of that before the election. So the writing was on the wall right there. I
Mhm.
still tried to do what I had to do to save face because I mean, I love the party. I had to do what I had to
Right.
do. But probably in hindsight, I should have resigned then and there and make it public.
Mm-hmm.
But you know me, I don't like to really rock the boat to hurt the party in any way, no scandal. So I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And I became the scandal after they lose the election because the members are thinking that it's me who misled them. When you have the information I gave to them,
You became the scapegoat, essentially.
yeah,
Yeah, you became a person to absorb the darkness.
yeah. So that was the deepest one. I mean, I had worked with the party before, like when Mr. Green, wonderful gentleman, was the leader.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful guy, man. I mean, there's no other gentler guy that I've worked with than Mr. Green and Mr. Prevo as well. Edison, nice and witty, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
James, and Mr. Williams was leader as well. Earl Williams was very charismatic.
Yes.
Beautiful, nice relationship with everybody else, but that just
Mm-hmm.
turned with the new kind of management of the party. I was excommunicated, and yeah, and that's where it ended. So I remember one time I'll give you that story. Yeah? When you remember there was a manifesto presentation on the Newtown Savannah one time for the UWP.
Mm-hmm.
And UWP at the time did not release the manifesto, and they said we will have it on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Well, I was behind that, decision too, because what happened is because after this conversation, I do not want to really engage talking about those issues again, political issues, because Dr. Triffy, I'm not really even, and I'll explain to you why. Why? Because my love is not politics. My real love is people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the kind of politics that's been played is not a people's politics, it's a party politics.
Yes.
I want,
Identity politics, like just
yeah,
real brutal.
so I don't
Real
want,
brutal. It does not consider the people much at all,
yeah.
in my opinion.
So after this conversation, I really don't even want to give interviews again because I want to just move on to the things I really want to do: academia, education, research, helping young people. That's what I want to do. I do not want really to be in the forefront of politics. I don't mind working at the back if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
But to say that Alex has any desire personally to be elected into office, that's the last thing I want to do. Not me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see things happen. I would like to see a party that I support win.
Right, right, right.
But to say me having any personal interest to be up at the forefront,
Mm-hmm.
and I've said so over and over again, and they keep on bringing back up and say that I want power. I really don't want power. Anyway, so that manifesto night, uh, I was at the back in the behind the scenes, and there was some problems with the manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a simple thing, and right there, I realized the party is having problems. The party has made a lot of strategic blunders. So I told the person who was coordinating the thing, but we cannot put out a manifesto with wrong names on people's faces and this kind of print. You have to get rid of the manifestos because nobody vetted this stuff before it came there. So my advice was, he did, and said, okay, what do we do? I said, well, give the leader a statement, let the leader say that we are going high tech this year and whatever.
Right.
Whatever. But the way the statement went out, it was spun against the party by Mr. Safri and them that say they launch us with the manifesto and they tell us to go on the website and it wasn't there. My advice was, do not give it. Burn manifestos. Work through the night.
Right.
Get it corrected. Put this online.
Right.
Reprint.
Yes.
And circulate the week after.
Right.
The announcement was made. Nothing was done to fix it. The time for the posting came. Nothing was posted. Fiasco.
It looked bad. Mm-hmm.
Fiasco. I can tell you so many other instances when I suggest. One of the other things again to fast what I suggested again was a time in this last 2 elections ago when some people maliciously planted a bag at the leader's house.
I want to ask you about this. Alex, I want to tell you this. I remember so clearly where I was when that news broke. And I remember how I felt, like just in shock. And I have never, because of the way things unfolded, I think many Dominican people are still unclear about what happened with that. So I can't wait for you to tell us about this.
That's painful. The leader is a very genuine person. He has his flaws, like everyone else.
Right.
But the leader of the UW, past leader that I knew, is an amazing gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Some people decided to plant a black bag in front of the leader's house. So we didn't know, we just saw something, news story and thing being circulated about backdrop at the leader house.
Right.
So as strategist, I asked a question, what happening?
Right.
Leader say he's working on something. He has a video surveillance at his home and he's trying to recall the recordings.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, that's good.
Right.
I never doubted the leader because I know this man is a man who, I believed in.
Mm-hmm.
So come become Fed, the leader got the tips and the leader said, look, the tips.
Mm-hmm.
The tips clearly showing what happened in the yard.
Which was what?
I'm telling the leader.
That's what meant, see, because at the time I talked about this today. I was, you're going about with your life and you're focused on other things. You're not necessarily paying attention to politics in Dominica on a day-to-day basis when you're in the diaspora. Yeah. But yeah, that really caught my attention. But I just couldn't believe that Dominican politics had gotten to that level where somebody would make that up.
It was a malicious plant by some actors. So I looked at the tape, original. 3 people in the yard walk up to the leader's house.
Wow.
Watched around, look around, turn around, as if they were practicing what they were going to do.
Right.
They came to the door, they put a black bag, the guy walk away, another guy come, he grabbed the bag and run back.
Wow.
They did it about 3 or 4 times. Until they got it
like practicing.
Yes, until they got it right, then they took the bag and they left. I said, Boje, Because at that time, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister Douglas were on platform already saying about bag of money. And I said, but how could they commit to saying those things about the man when that is not true? The tape is not showing that. So I said, Bonte, we win the election. Because if we handle that well, that is going to put them fellas to bed. I remember the president of the party saying, Alex, I think so.
Right.
So I said, Mr. Leader, let me deal with that. I contact the same man on, and we take the 20 seconds of one of the takes because they did it 3 times.
Wow.
So I took 20 seconds of one of the take in real time, no cutting, no editing, nothing. And we put it, and we had the young lady do the narration. Whatever day, while the leader was out of his way, 3 men were sitting in the yard. And while she's speaking, the tape rolling.
Right.
Narration over the tape. One man put the bag, another man took the bag, and they walked up. And
like just the descriptive analysis.
30 seconds, and we showed them walking down. And at the end, she says, we'll disclose more at a different time, at a different. So I did that. Again, Marlon flew from Texas, come meet me in Jersey. We did this stuff. Said that. Never heard anything. I also advised that on the day that this is being released, have the leader's wife speak, not the leader, and let her speak about her fear for her family and her beloved husband.
Right.
But that would be more emotionally appealing to the audience because you want to sway people. And if she speaks about the fear that she has for her family.
Right. As would be expected, because I cannot begin to imagine being in her position and that stuff is happening.
But she was visibly shaken by it. And she didn't want to do it, but I said, look, we have to get her to do it.
Right.
And I told the leader that you should not speak on that night. Wear a tight-fitted top, jeans, kind of casual, get a white handkerchief or wash rag, and wipe your face as often as you can. Don't make eye contact. Keep your head bowed.
Wait, Alex. Wait, Alex. I don't want to interrupt you, but you're making me have flashbacks of the last election with white handkerchiefs and tears. What are you saying? Is this political strategy?
That's what we do. I'm a strategist. That's what we do. Politics is a lot about optics and emotion. Sometimes you have to act.
Yes.
I was told I'm not an actor. And instead, I don't want to criticize. I'm just telling you what really happened. And that bothered me too, because that, if it had been done the way it was suggested, that would have been game over. What else could they come back and say? Because what they did is whoever did whatever for the leadership created the free takes and showed the free takes and put a clock on top of the take. It looked edited. And they said it was edited because it was edited.
So they were correct and they were telling the truth, but the other side used little things to make them look like they were lying.
Because of how they did it. They did too much with it. They put clock on top. They edit. Don't just put it simple. See, in politics, simplicity sells. Last Dr. Triffy, that hurt me when that happened that way. And I say, and I can tell you about other instances.
Wow.
But I will give you these two for now because I think it is important that people know the effort that I have made and the value of the work that I try to do.
Yeah.
And try and pin me as the scapegoat, it is just wrong. One of the biggest problems with the campaign was that Al Jazeera story towards the end, but just before election.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
And my advice I wouldn't tell what my advice was, but I had an advice for it.
You're not going to tell us what your advice was to respond to that?
That particular one, no, I will wait because maybe after tonight, the party might come out swinging again. I hope they don't come out swinging, but I'm not swinging against the party, and I'm telling you my story, right?
Right.
If I have to swing about the party, it will not be pretty. And I'm not a savage guy, so I'm not going to swing.
Right. You know what is most egregious to me? Again, my work is in healing and taking darkness and trying to bring it into light. I just cannot accept or tolerate the idea that people on the little island have gone so far to stay in power that they will create these situations. This is very dark. It's very dirty.
Yeah. The Al Jazeera story changed a lot in me about certain people in party. When I saw the story, I'm like, oh,
Right.
changed a lot in other people too, a lot of people. So
Yeah.
that in great parts caused the party the elections. Great parts. Because we knew already about the other
The
guys.
other side. Right.
But when we, the disciples of honor
Yeah.
and morality, are
Yeah.
caught,
Yeah. That
we
was the nail in the coffin.
so I had an idea, but boy,
Yeah, that was the nail in the coffin. Like there was no water to wash that one, eh? Because
no, that was going to be a tough one. That
yeah.
was going to be a tough one.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I want to ask you about your writing. So I noticed I'm grateful because it's great reading. You're a great author. I got to tell you.
Thank you.
When as I'm reading the work, it's almost like I can hear you speaking. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Mhm.
So you do these political essays,
Yes.
and I realize again, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. In a way, I feel some sadness that my life was so focused on. When you do your diaspora experience,
Yeah.
you have to go for your shots, you understand? And you're busy, you're focusing on trying to get things together, take care of your family, your kids, your work. So I wasn't really studying Dominican politics for a little while. I feel as if I woke up and like the truth just hit me in the face. And I realized you've been writing about this stuff since what, 2009?
Yeah.
Like a long time. You saw this stuff that you wrote in 2009. That's what we're talking about every day now. It's just
Exactly.
worse.
And it was published on the news outlets in Dominica.
Right.
But I do not know whether people didn't read or whether, and this is me, this is real me, but they're trying to spin me into something else. So what you have there is the work that I've done. I will
Yeah.
later publish it into a book. Maybe
Yeah.
the next generations of Dominicans will benefit from it. But I think currently people now, those involved in the business now, do not care too much about the formalities and the
Yeah.
right aggressive attitudes and ideas. So
Something that you wrote that I took note of was after Hurricane Maria,
yeah,
you said in a piece that you're basically shocked. You would have expected that after a tragedy,
hmm,
a catastrophe like Maria, that we would have been coming together more so, right? But it
yes,
felt like the gaps were widening.
yes.
What
After
is
Maria.
after Maria? Tell me more.
Yeah, what happened? The gaps were widened because when Maria struck, a lot of people were despondent and were in need.
Hmm.
And the authorities did not respond to need, they responded to interests.
Yeah, they're party members, people who liked
So,
them.
yeah, so they focus on people
Yeah,
who give stuff, who supported them, and a lot of people get extra stuff that they
yeah.
could not even use while others didn't have.
That
So,
went rot,
yeah.
rot.
So
Yeah.
that obviously created a fraction in the communities, in the families.
Mm.
And people start saying, but Ella, guess how you can't family when people cried blood to me during that time. So that really divided us. It pulled us apart a lot when the government
Word.
was supposed to bring us together and just take care of the people. There
Right.
was enough for everybody to get over and over, but they gave one set all and another set didn't have. So that drove us further apart. When
Mm-hmm.
during crisis, I remember during Hurricane David, I was a youth, little boy. Hurricane David bring us together.
Mm-hmm.
People started working together. But
Mm.
that Maria, which was more catastrophic than David in a kind of a way,
Yes.
it decalé us. It
Yeah.
just mashed us up. So I saw that and I decided to write about it. Because
Mm-hmm.
already the government had been doing their selective blue and red clinic kind of machination. The hurricane was a perfect occasion for them to capitalize on this dependency thing. And I think that was when we've gone past a particular threshold of political dependency in Dominica. So I wrote about that.
Ah.
I wrote about that. Yes.
Maria presented an excuse, like a ripe opportunity.
It was what the doctor ordered. It was the
Right.
dream. It was the dream event for the political directorate of our country.
Right. Ouch.
Yeah, it was a power. It was a solidifying moment to kind of a hold grip of power.
Right.
And boy, that was done well and played well. I think the leadership of our country know what it is to hold on to power,
Yes.
and they'll do almost anything to do so.
Anything. Yes.
To
Yeah.
do so,
Yeah.
including the reform that they are going to implement is going to be another control measure. Again, I mean that reform is not going to resolve any issue in Dominica.
Yes.
It's already cooked and
Yeah.
it's not going to be implemented. And worse yet, there is no opposition technically.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was, I mean, again, and we'll get to that maybe, but not contesting when the bluff was called and election was called before. That at that time the governing party was at its weakest, and you just give them the greatest mandate by not
Right.
contesting.
Right.
And now they're going to implement reform, and you know outside they're making noise
Without
when
your input. Yes.
so
Yes.
that is just too much. Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Griffith to speak about the missed opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us suffering because of that, because of the lack of vision of a few.
Right.
The people in government, they apply strategies. They have the Bajans working for them. The Bajans are great. They know what they're doing. I am a Dominican. I know what I'm doing too.
Right.
Just give us a chance. Give me a good fair fight against the Bajans, man. I would have beat them if we get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But you're making me pass as a thing and then you're blaming me because you don't listen to anything that I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So the governing party use strategies, they use science, they use everything else.
They
You
use data.
what are you using? Movelang, hash rhetoric,
Mm-hmm.
incoherent messaging, picking on the people who tell you things that you don't like what they tell you. No,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes you have to swallow your guts. And if after this program
Right.
tonight, the leadership of the UWP call me, I'll be happy to speak with them.
Yes.
I have no problem, but you have to learn to, in politics, you must have thick skin.
Mm.
And politicians can't be strategists.
Right. It's a different job. It's a different task.
Even if you are a strategist for somebody else, as a politician, you have to have a different strategies for yourself.
Right. It's the same way that I cannot do therapy with a relative or a family member. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So I want to talk about team unity because you said you don't want to be involved in politics, but
Mhm.
how did your foray into politics continued after UWP?
Yeah. Well, I was not in politics at UWP. I was not declared. I was behind the scenes. I've been working since 2009 doing my essays.
Mm.
They roped me in to be strategist. As I said, I explained to you what happened. So I was never a political person. Never been a member of UWP. Never been.
Never officially.
Never officially. Never.
Okay.
Never wore a party t-shirt. Never got involved in campaign. Never was a delegate. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so when the election fiasco went down and UWP lost in 2019, I got berserk. I got crazy, insane. And right there, I started writing. I wrote an entire document for the creation of a new party called the Alternative People's Party in 1 week.
You had that much fire in
I'm
you.
telling you, Dr. Triffy.
Yes.
Never in my imagination I would have envisioned me getting involved in politics, even doing a party.
Mm-hmm.
But I got so sick because of the stress that I went on, that I undergone, that I had to endure.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote every word for the party, and I called Marlon Girodel again and tell partner, Marlon jump on board, and I call a few other people.
Mm-hmm.
I also called, I won't call her name, but a young lady from Point Michelle, and pretty much gave her everything and put her in position and show her the way, and then she kicked me. She kicked me and then she told me to move on. I'm like, how do you move on from something that is yours, something that you create and invite somebody else to partake? Anyway, I moved on until your nephew came to me, Carlos Charles. And Carlos said, partner, I feel the pain. I see what you're going through, my brother. I know you. You cannot leave that thing because there's nobody to do what we are doing, my brother. Come back and do something. I tell Carlos, Pala, jamais. I'd already zoned out.
Yes.
And Carlos kept coming. Yeah, Carlos kept coming. He kept coming. And I kept saying no until a very good, big, well-established person in Rosa told me, something, Alex, stop kidding around. you have to get back in, do what you have to do, create a movement, lead the movement. You can
Right.
become leader of the opposition in a year or two, and you can
Right.
be prime minister in 5 years, 7 years,
Yes.
and you will have money.
Yes.
Just
You got
tell me.
support. Yes.
I didn't take that because I don't want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. I went back to Carlos. I said, Carlos, okay, are we going to do it? So we created a new party, a TUD. I wrote TUD in about two months.
You wrote Team Unity Dominica.
I wrote the party in less than 2 months.
I
Again,
like to tease you all when you all say TUD because
yeah,
I'm like, what is that? You mean
Team
Team
Unity
Unity
Dominica.
Dominica? Okay.
Before constitution,
Yes.
we got registered, we got a symbol 2 months after elections were called. Tell
Mm-hmm.
us what we're doing, boy. I say, guys, we have to compete because the other parties say they're not competing. That is not good for the democracy.
Right.
It should.
Right.
Anyway, one member said we shouldn't, and everybody else said we should, so we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we competed. We didn't compete, we just contested.
Right.
Because we
You
wanted to
showed up.
actually, yes,
You wanted to show up. Yes.
show up that at least we are doing something. After 2 months, we had
Mm-hmm.
no campaign finance, no
Mm-hmm.
morning, we had no meeting, no. We knew we were going to be beaten like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to be brave and play David.
Right.
And you know what, Dr. Trevi, what pleases me the most?
What?
We got over 100 votes.
I know, right?
People left.
I think that was very meaningful.
People, you have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
People left their homes and deliberately went to the booth and voted for us.
Yes.
After not asking, not campaigning, nothing. I mean, Mark Wessa, can't you not double that or do that 10 times in the next election?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we get 1,000 vote next election, it's still fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because small things get into big things.
That's right. That's right.
So that is the TUD story again because of Carlos, your nephew. That's why he is the leader today because he that bring me back in it. And I tell him I don't want to be leader. He tell me, Alex, you don't have to lead us. I say no. Yeah. So that's why he is leading today because I want him. And so far so good. We are doing well.
Yes.
We had 5 candidates the last time. Oh, that is doubled now.
Wow.
And we are talking to good people. We are very progressive, very engaging. I will not necessarily be personally presently involved as a frontliner, but I'm going to work behind the scenes to get people elected to go into the parliament because we need representations in parliament.
Okay, nice place to ask you. You say we need representation in parliament. What is happening with this current leadership? I mean, Trilla on the mic wrote, we're in a dictatorship right now. What are your thoughts on this? What is going on?
The government, which is led by the Honorable Prime Minister, is not a Labour Party government. It is a kind of a power sharing arrangement that he mustered, he put together, and he is single-handedly controlling. The Labour Party is not in power. It has not been in power in Dominica since 1979.
So that gentleman who just sort of peeled off from that organization, he's correct when he says this is a new party?
Former minister and ambassador, I'm totally on the ball, on the money. And I've been saying this for a long time. But he is perfectly right. He just kind of validated everything that I've said. That the party in power in Dominica today is not the Labour Party. Labour has not been in power in Dominica since Patrick John was thrown down by the same people who are heading this organization.
Right.
The people that they brought in to put on the boards.
Right.
So the Labour Party was hijacked, so to speak. And this man, because of his savvy, and because there was a gap,
there was a space, there was
an opportunity. He grabbed it again.
Yes,
probably I might have done it. But Rusi did it for Labour too, you know.
Right.
A Labour writing, Rusi
exactly.
Pierre Charles was not a Labour writing.
Exactly.
These people were DLM.
There were alliance. There were alliance and liberation movement people.
But the Labour was not doing much with Mike. They were not. It was like a joke.
Yes.
It's really a joke. They didn't really rise. So this Rusi would have never won an election in Dominica had it not been for the death of his brother.
That's right. That's right.
In 1992. So Rusi came and he jumped in and he led. Rusi did what he had to do. Rusi, a communist, get a capitalist, the Eugenia Charles to work with him.
That's right.
To put him in power.
Well,
so it's not Labour that was in power.
Fellows, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't Labour. It was alliance-led remnants of Labour supported by Freedom. And that is still the case.
Right.
And right now, the Prime Minister of Dominica had never been a Labourite. He's not a Labourite. We probably will never be a Labourite. The president of Dominica is not a liberal. It has never been, will never be a liberal.
Right.
So it was it's just an arrangement that this guy's put in place, and it is controlled by the Honorable Prime Minister, who has a really wonderful team of people supporting him. Experts, the best of the best. And he has a winning legacy. That's all he really has been doing, is winning. And nothing much other than that.
Elections.
Huh?
Just winning elections.
Yeah, which is something, but at the end of the day, it is
Oh
not.
my gosh.
It is not when you add up to where we are today and where
we are, where we ought to be.
Yeah, it is. So, and he has been continuing to win. He, to me, I think, was born with a spoon to win, a golden spoon.
Yes. Some people have
it's his luck. I think it's his chance. And eventually he will. I think he's moving out anyway. He gave the other minister to the position of Minister of Finance, and he presented his first budget. So I think eventually he will phase into something else, away from the prime ministership, maybe into a higher office if there's a higher office than prime minister in Dominica. But he's not going to go away. He's going to be around. And
going to a higher office. What does that mean? Why does Dominica need? What does that mean?
I don't know.
We don't need new people. We don't need new ideas.
When you're in power, power is a crazy thing. And when you eye in it for so long, all he knows is power. The Honorable Prime Minister doesn't know anything about power. I mean, he thought for a little while, but all he knows is political power. And it's going to be tough to take him out of it.
But he can be making me think about what's his name, Brady. Remember Brady? Brady retired and then went back in, and then he didn't last long.
Yeah. But I still find he's a cool, he's a gracious guy. It's just that he is just too driven by the quest to safeguard
his power.
His leaning there. It's too much about that, and without an ideology to develop the people.
Right.
And so we were in trouble until we can actually find the recipe to come together. I'm hoping that we can do it, and he can be beaten by the ballot. He can be easily beaten.
Of course.
I'm not one for the protests, and well, I don't mind protesting, but the things I'm hearing people calling for, and the wishful thinking of resignation. Who's going to resign for you all?
I know.
So we just have to find a way to get the message to the people, to rally support, to put the wonderful people to go up there to contest against them, and they will bid to them. Because before he was prime minister, he was a nobody, like everybody, nobody. And he won, and he did what he had to do. He can be beaten as well. But the game does have to be played against him in a proper way.
Right. As you mentioned, winning, that is one of the aspects, one of the characteristics that I really do appreciate about the prime minister, that follow through, that crossing every T and dotting every I when it comes to winning, right? When it comes to winning an election, because I noted that on the day of the election, a voice note was passing around. The last elections where nobody else was really competing. Still, he followed through with his plan as if he was fighting a really tough opponent. So
let me tell you, the prime minister had a by-election in Granby, one of his safest areas. He put his entire machinery to work.
Right.
He did not take a chance.
Right.
Dr. Triffy, there is politics, which is due to the interaction, and when it comes to election, the things that we do through a process to get into power. And there is power.
Right.
The game of power is played by particular rules. And
the
minister is a darling when it comes to a candidate to use to play the game of power. After power, there is authority and governance. I don't think that is being done well, but the power
the governance piece, I wish that level of passion and energy had been applied to the governance and the development piece.
If he had done that, if he was able to do that, oh boy, I think we would have been
a beautiful experience for all of us. I'm sad that it turned so painful for so many people.
He got a perfect opportunity to take us somewhere, and I think it has been squandered. So somebody else has to do it.
Yeah, it's been squandered. Yeah. Okay. So I think you just answered Mr. Nugent Thomas's question in a way when he asked, what are your views on the state of politics in Dominica? And then he also, he asked, what are your predictions?
She isn't cricket or football. All right. So while I explain what's happening in Dominica, all is not lost. A lot of people have given up, but you shouldn't. Dominica is too beautiful a beautiful estate to give up
Right.
on. And people
But
like
she's
me,
ours. She's all of ours.
yes, people
Yeah.
like you and I and the Prime Minister, people will eventually move on, and Dominica is going to be there.
Exactly. She's going to be there.
So we have to do all we can to protect the life of the people
Mhm.
who live on the island. Because Dominica will always be smiling if we
Right.
continue to manage her as well.
Right.
So don't give up on Dominica.
Right.
We are in the crossroads of either going down a ditch or trying to salvage.
Mm-hmm.
I think try and keep Dominica afloat. So let's not rejoice when things happen.
Mm-hmm.
CBI is in problem. If we lose the CBI today, we are going to hit an economic deadlock.
Well, when you say if we do, but let's be realistic and say, where are we right now? Really, as you know,
in trouble. We are in trouble.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine. I don't want to envisage it when this thing really comes to a
when it
fruit.
hits, when it
Yeah.
really hits, it's going to hit within 6 months. You're going to start feeling the pressure. What do you think?
Dominicans cannot deal with more pain. And I really hope that like wishful thinking prevents it from happening. But I think it is inevitable.
It's inevitable.
We, however, should not rejoice. We should prepare to embrace each other
Right.
and to heal together. And that's one of the problems I find with opposition and government politics is that, especially on the opposition side, when like Mr. Walter, now the former minister, is now speaking on
Right.
his party, yeah, not
Right.
Dominica, his party.
Right.
But boy, he got blues.
Right.
Now you're talking. I'm like, oh my God. The first thing you need to do is to send out an emissary to the man, sit with him, and
go sit with the man.
oh my God.
I couldn't believe it. That's called looking a gift horse in the mouth.
When the bus drivers were protesting the same thing, take what all you get.
Yes.
They're singing the former King song.
Come on.
I'm like, oh my word.
Yes.
So that is the problem. You have to learn to cry with people. There's a politician from Dominica who I know. Dr. Triffy, he would go to every funeral there is to go to. And when he gets to the funeral, he asking who died now. He listens to DBS, to every death announcement. He takes notes. And I will not call his name. He always wear a jack shirt.
Yes.
And when he gets to the funeral, he asks him whose funeral it is again. And he's shaking hands. And
that's funny.
When you're in the game, you have to play the game.
Yeah, you're all in. You got to be all in. You can't be so emotional.
Yeah, and the thing about the Prime Minister is that he's a professional politician. The man knows how to do. He's guided from the movement, from the time how he was dressed,
right,
how he walked, how he waved, right, how he stands, how he turns,
right, how he cried on the stage.
Everything is scripted. No, he perfects it, but
right,
he's the one who's playing the role. Right. But 90% of what this gentleman does is scripted.
Yes, 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 yes.
And he does it well. He's a professional politician.
Right.
How many professional politicians do we have on the other side?
I know.
You have to dedicate the time. You have to be on the ground, be in the trenches, do what is necessary to be done. That's why I have
because that is what allows you to get in to do all the other things you want to do. You've got to do that part.
You haven't seen your nephew lately? How much weight he lose?
Yes, he's moving around.
He's on the ground.
Yes, yes, yes.
Every day, 3-4 times a day, we're speaking. And some people underestimate him.
Yes.
But he's a brilliant, bright, driven, honest, reliable,
straight shooter
person. And I think that if Carlos Charles continues on the present trajectory, he will be one for the future because he is maybe half the age of some of them that are trying to say things about him. They will be out of politics before, and he will, I tell you, Dr. Triffy, if God is good, become a name in politics tomorrow. And I will do all I can to support Carlos because I have learned to trust him. when I felt I could have never trust anybody in politics.
Mm.
And if Carlos deceived me, Papa Bonji, I do not know what I'm going to do. Because I really like him. I love Carlos. I trust him. And I believe in what he believes in.
Yes.
And I'm really trying to help him. And anybody else who's willing for me to help them in any way, because I have it to give.
Yeah.
Join Carlos, guys, and let us try to do something to help change the political narrative in Dominica. It is just too noisy, too vexatious.
It's very dark, very dark. It needs we need rescue, we need healing, we need a reset. Like really, yeah.
And one of the best things that could happen, honestly, Dr. Triffy, is if the people who I once associated with would call me, at least just give me a call. And we could just sit down and have a talk. I don't want to join you again. I don't want to just talk.
Right. Like Dominicans, like people, like used to work together.
Just talk. You know, I lost a friendship, a 20-year-old friend, 24-year-old friendship because of that. A dear friend who I really thought was, I mean, how am I going to start another friendship and go last for 20 years again? I would never have a friendship like that again.
Right.
And the man walked away from me.
It's sad to hear this stuff.
He walked away from me because he believed what the people were saying on the opposition side, that I misled and I want power. And I'm like, my brother, let us talk. I messaged him the other day. I said, let us meet together. We can have a neutral person to navigate our coming back. He never responded to me.
Maybe not yet, you know. I think love is love and friendship is friendship. So it can withstand a lot.
Hopefully, man. So those things cause me to feel real uneasy. So your invitation is, I guess, a little therapy for me there.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Alex. As Marshall we've come to Marshall's post. You've been through a lot, you know.
Oh yeah, man. I had some real tough time, man.
There is a thing called political trauma. So at the end of this process tonight, you know, we have about 20 more minutes. At the end of this process, I'm going to do a little closing that I hope is therapeutic for you.
No problem.
Yes. Beto said, I can relate to the Young Freedom Movement because I was a member in Portsmouth. She was so excited about that movement with, you know, all the youth from all over the country, you know, getting together. I was a chef YFM. In Cottage, you know. That marked me to be very tuned into politics and to be, you know, interested, to be asking questions, to listen, to reason, you know.
Yeah, the YFM was very, very good in terms of balancing the young people at the time. And so yeah, I was part of it. And again, it was not even a partisan thing. It was just a philosophy.
It felt more like a youth group. It was just a youth group. A lot of, you know, you learned how to run meetings. You learned how to, there was not this kind of stuff about it's just us. I didn't feel that at all from that organization.
And ironically, one of the parties, the first party that I went to after we created the new movement, to say, guys, I'm seeing something. I think your brand can be resuscitated, but let us put some youthful energy that I have into the Freedom Party. Let's have a cooperation of working together, and we can do this. The Freedom Party didn't listen. They said I think they prefer to work with the opposition. So they kind of played the game and they didn't take us seriously. But that would have been my wish, that the Freedom Party would kind of find a way to work with a new idea and to rebrand the party, because the party is lost now in the party in power right now.
Yes.
But the leadership of the party didn't trust that I was saying what was correct, and they didn't do it. And right now, I think they trying to work something out with the former opposition party, the former parliamentary opposition.
Right.
I wish them well. I hope it works out. But yeah, I really hope it works out for them.
Gregory says he believes that the PM and the Labour Party use the strategy the Russians use for their elections. What do you think?
I do not know exactly what strategies the Russians use, because Russia is an authoritarian state. Dominica is still a democracy, but a democracy led by authoritarian ideals.
Right.
I'm not going to call Dominica a dictatorship.
I am not going to call it a dictatorship.
Because when you do that, you make it easy for them to say, well, all you say it was, so it was.
Exactly.
So there is power in the name.
Exactly.
So we are still a democracy, so that's why I speak in. If Dominica was like a Russia, I know they're talking today.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I am speaking because we are a democracy, but we are
Exactly.
led by authoritarian ideals.
Yeah.
Because I don't think our prime minister has dictatorial, has democratic
Democratic.
tendencies.
No, 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 no. It would have been
So
evident by now.
yeah, so we are not Russia per se because Russia is plain out
Mm-hmm.
state control. Although Dominica is a state control system too,
Mm-hmm.
but there are ways around it.
We can pretend. We can still pretend.
Yeah, in Russia and China, the state controls and the state runs the government. The
Mm-hmm.
state runs the party. It's the Communist Party of China that runs China. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no innuendo. There's no pretense.
Right.
Some people do not like China because they say China is a one-party state. You
Right.
cannot hate China. China has declared that they are a communist country. They are one-party state.
Yes.
We have not declared it, but we're acting like China.
We're acting like it. I think it would be too tough on the labor rights to hear, so it's not said.
So that's why they have not said it. But I think the tendency and the inclination is to be a one-party kind of
Absolutely, absolutely.
and not contesting an election makes it easier.
It feeds
I
into
just couldn't understand why any party in their good mind, Dr. Trivy, felt that they should not contest the last election. At least you would have done better than you did and put some pressure in there, and the next time you would certainly do better. But when you don't contest and you say, when you don't contest, the foreign governments will delegitimize Dominica government. I mean, really? That's not how it works.
Yeah, the foreign governments, they're not running into other people's country.
No.
So it's just like that.
You're giving up your holy grounds. No, man, no. And some people still castigate me saying TUD contest and we sold out. Sold out where? We stood up for Dominica, and in years to come, people will say, look at what they will really say.
You're saying you're not seeing much value in the UWP having sat out.
No political value for sure. Probably emotional and
right.
partisan, saving face or whatever. But even if you say you not contest, if no election, no reform, my lord. When the election called after he promised to give us the reform, he called it. You change your mind too. Say, look, guys, we really said that, but in these circumstances, it's Dominica first.
Right.
But make an excuse why you should and do it. But you just say no. The man felt so happy, boy, to get all. He wanted all, He wanted all. And he was going after all. He had plans in place. There are people who resigned and were ready to be declared as senators. They got paid. I can tell you a lot of things that Dr. Triffi tonight, and just cause some problems in Dominica, But I will not. Because I could have taken a deal too and become leader of the opposition.
What do you mean? You were approached?
Yes.
You see, that's what I mean when I say the politics is so dark.
I was approached. Anyway.
It has become so dark. Like, what is this desperation for power? I don't get it.
And I said, okay, so when I do that and I get that money there and I'm happy as leader of the opposition, what next? My people.
Right.
I can't do that. I can't be happy in Dominicans.
Yourself.
No, I will continue to go in the wilderness until it is done in a legitimate and honest way. I cannot work with people in this power sharing arrangement kind of thing. It wasn't going to be for the party in power, But it was people with interest in politics telling me, look, that pam, 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 pam. But there are players in the politics that are pushing the knobs. But my button was not pushed.
Well, I think once you are clear on your purpose and you're clear on your why, those choices become easier.
Where am
I? Those choices become easier. Enrique, my nephew, love you, Sakafet.
Hey, Enrique around.
Gregory wants me to be the future Prime Minister of Dominica. I appreciate you, Gregory.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tremendous task, especially now.
With the top, keep going.
With the present state of affairs and the situation of the people, we need someone who can like probably like you, because politics has different perspectives, by which politics is played. And your perspective, the psychological perspective, is amazing. That is what the Prime Minister uses more than anything else. He's not a psychologist. He's far from that. But he uses the psychological perspective to work on people's minds. The psychological, the cultural, the political, the biological, the rational, and the irrational. These are all perspectives people can use to sway people. Number 45 in America is irrational. He used that perspective to get his information out. And I can show you all the different leaders and what perspective they use and how they mix different perspectives. The psychological one is the biggest one. And in a report that I gave to the opposition party, I told them, get a psychologist to help you.
I saw that in your report. I saw that recommendation.
2019. I say you need this because that perspective, you have been bitten by it with a man he's not a psychologist. He's a doctor. He is an honorary doctor, which is an honor that he got, and people should not call him doctor. Nobody refers to honorary doctors as doctors. They don't accept the calling. So the Prime Minister should stop people from calling him honorary doctor. They never say honorary, they say doctor.
Well, you know that, Alex, and people who know that understand that. But the person in Pebush, you understand, like daily sees.
That is the psychology.
Yeah.
That is the psychology.
Yeah.
Because they was a doctor many times over, they Patrick John too,
Right.
They never use the title. You are not supposed to ethically use the title.
Right.
Mais you can say, parce que c'est mon là qui can doctor, parce que doctor. And that is what is the situation. So get the psychological going, do what you have to do, you they're not listening. They're just bashing every day. You're making him stronger when you bash him, when you call his name.
Greg, what I would say to that is, at this stage, I think the Prime Minister part of all of us needs to show up now for Dominica. The Prime Minister in all of us needs to show up now for Dominica. That's what I would say to that. Yeah. Alex, Greg also said that he thinks that you've gotten a lot of blows because a prophet does not have honor in his own country. You sometimes felt that way?
Oh, yeah, man. Some of my friends, I have a lot of friends in the Labour Party too. They told me, boy, Alex, boy, we wish we had you.
Yes.
But, boy, let's you go away, we boy, and do your work in St. Kitts or somewhere.
Right.
The way roll in there, them fellas, them man dirty in you.
Yes.
So make your name somewhere else. Forget about them people. Forget about Dominica. I can't forget about Dominica.
Right. It's impossible. It's impossible. The way we were trained and raised, it's impossible.
Yeah, and many times I thought about it because I'm doing very well, Dr. Triffy.
Absolutely.
I am okay,
Right.
I am placé, I mean.
Right.
But I want to give back. I want to help. I cannot
to make a contribution. Yes.
Yeah. I want to do something.
Miss Sweeney says, what an interview. Thank you for showing up and listening. Veronica says, bonsoir, Dr. Anne Pawol. Chris finally reached.
Oh my word. Oh, we can't end now. We cannot end now, Chris. We cannot end now. Oh my God, Chris. This man can take a bullet. I think he has taken many bullets for me. Oh boy, yeah. And
Go ahead.
I don't want to say too much about Chris. I might get emotional because that man stood with me when I was being taken to the cleaners. He believed in me. He trusted me. He called me and said, "But Dr. Bruno, are you sure?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I believe in you. I believe in you. You're a good man. I believe you."
Absolutely.
He never doubted me, and I want to thank him for that.
Yes. Jackie says, "Ipamele." Jacket. Peto says, wow, you've gone through a lot of embarrassment and ridicule, but despite that, you rise up above it. Very strong man and highly educated.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I think adversity have made me strong. And there were times when I broke and I cried.
Yes.
And I heard things, songs, and saw things that were not there. But I was able to get the strength to withstand. And,
absolutely. That stress, that level of stress can do that to us, but we have in fire.
I mean, I told a story one time of a sighting that I had. And my family didn't believe when I told them. And the people who I expressed it with didn't believe. That in stress can make you do and see things.
Absolutely.
There was one time I saw while driving a lady going across the street,
Mm-hmm.
95, wearing a wedding gown,
Mm.
all in white. And I did see it. Nobody can tell me I didn't see the lady walking
Right.
across the street.
Right.
But in a second, because I
Gone.
was going through so much. I think that was around sometime, I had to catch myself together, man. And,
Mm-hmm.
I get some, do what I have to do.
Yeah,
But
to look
sometimes you
into
hear
it
and see
in a
things
different way.
when you are very stressed that people will not understand if you tell them.
That's right. That's correct. Jackie asked what made me change my mind to focus on politics. So I cut my teeth on politics in the YFM. Like I would argue for hours my point in politics for hours. So, but when you move again, you got school, you got work, you got kids, you got family. That's not what you're thinking about. I think as my kids started leaving and going off to school and doing their own thing, my head and my focus started turning back towards Dominica a lot more. And a big part of me felt very disappointed. I think in the 2019 elections, because we had just endured Maria, I heard people screaming essentially, but I thought that we were too traumatized to make a big change then. It felt like it would have been a safer thing to just let the party continue.
Yeah,
But it just seemed like, I mean, and I had a vision, I think, too. Like, okay, Maria came and she shubule us. What a perfect opportunity for us to almost create an ideal, like a utopia, like with all of the support that was pouring in. I saw that we could do so much. Like just start over. Essentially, if 97% of the homes had damage, but you're getting all of this flooding in by way of support, for me, that was a beautiful chance to just reset. And I just started seeing things getting, for me, worse and worse and worse and worse. And as opposed to the focus being on developing the country, it seems to me like the focus is more on taking care of a few people and doing really a lot of harmful things to hurt other people.
yeah.
I can't get with that. I can't.
But but that is why you should persevere, because that is what we have to change. Unless people who understand, scientists like you, who understand human relations and what is necessary to change people's thinking and people's psyche, unless we get involved, that's going to persist. And
Exactly.
I got involved as a political scientist, and I'm being kicked. So you might
Exactly.
say, boy, Alex getting blows, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
People with the expertise will not get involved.
Right.
Dr.
Right.
Severin of UWE tried as well. He used to be speaking,
Mm.
and then he said, wow, he moved away
Mm.
because it is like it is not is our thing. Who are you? Where you come from with your degree?
Mm.
But unless the people who are
Right.
trying to get into office embrace the advice that they can get from experts,
Mm-hmm.
they will suffer because the other side is doing
And
it.
we struggle.
Yeah,
But they're
and,
like suffering, us too.
and when I say that, they always say, "Oh, you're always saying about your thing," but sometimes you have to, because that's what it is. Before I
Yeah.
didn't have, that's what it is. And I get the feeling that some people believe that who are you? You was not that all of a sudden you be that,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
but you know what 10 years of training does to you in a particular discipline? Changes a lot of things. So
Of
yes, I was
course, your brain gets rewired. You learn different processes and systems and ways
and
to
theories
tolerate
and
stress.
concepts and everything else.
Yeah.
So yes, I was a comedian. I still am a comedian. I was a show host and playwright. Yes, I'm still that cultural guy. But my God, man, I have done other things too.
Absolutely.
And the same way that some of them who were in the same dungeons with me became
Mm.
lawyers and teachers
Right.
and doctors. I respect you all.
Right.
Well, respect me same way now.
Yeah. What's your strategy for getting young people to go out and vote?
My strategy, personally,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm not. I cannot say what my strategy is. I can tell you now that I am working with a lot of young people.
Mm-hmm.
Trilogy being one of those.
Mm-hmm.
24 years young, and Trilogy had a camp for younger people,
Mm-hmm.
teenage people. And
Right.
I have been steady behind, even while he was contesting, because I was in his camp as a strategist,
Mm-hmm.
as well as other young people in other areas. My
Mm-hmm.
focus is on the 9 and 10-year-olds now, because I believe it will take 10 years at least of hard work before anything serious happens in the politics right now.
Yep. Yep.
Because this present crop, they're not going to move until maybe they get too old or whatever it is. And some of them will get too old very soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the 9, 10-year-olds in 10 years' time, 8 years' time will be voters. If you can work with them, I think they will realize and they will fix Dominica, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
It can change before 10 years, but it will take more than a concerted effort for that to change
Right.
the way that it should to benefit the majority of people in Dominica.
Yeah.
So my strategy and my focus is, well, not my strategy. My focus is on the younger people. I
Mm-hmm.
am doing a series of books. We have not even touched that as yet, Dr. Triffy.
I know, right? And
And the time
so
is very.
talk about that. Talk about that. What are you working on right now?
So I'm doing a series of books for children,
Yeah.
again, 9, 10-year-olds, a 4-part series. And I'm also doing another series of 6 books to encapsulate, to capture the philosophy of the political leadership
Mm-hmm.
from Leblanc to the Honorable Prime Minister currently.
Yes.
One book is being presented now. If we had time, or maybe if you invite me some other time again, we could speak about
Yes.
the book details.
Yes.
This book is Dame Eugenia, and that is ready. It's going to be promoted fastly, very shortly.
So it's already published and available on Amazon.
Oh, it's published already, yeah. It's
Yes.
just that I have not started marketing it because I
Yeah.
wanted to do some little editing, make sure I had some
Yes.
people read it, get some feedback, fix certain
Right.
things.
Right.
So the public can even get it now, but I have not started marketing it as yet.
Okay, guys. So you can get, what is the title of the book?
Dame Eugenia Unedited.
Dame Eugenia Unedited, available on Amazon by all but Dr. Alex Bruno.
Yeah, man. And that's the first in a series of books
Yes.
in the political leadership series. So I'm doing that. Hopefully, people will get into, see what's happening, and start making new, different ideas and different choices. And the younger people who will grow up to see and to understand with the work that we plan to do, with the books that I'm going to do as well, and the connection that I have been making with them, will know that at least there is hope. Because with the present stock, I'm not too sure where we're going to go and how fast we're going to go there. It can happen. It can happen. But it will take a while, and I'm willing to give it 10 years. I'm on a 10-year project right now. That's my strategy.
Okay. Well, we are coming down to the end of our time. I want to do something with you, Alex. I want, since most of your history right now, you're most connected to politics as opposed to any other area, right, of your life.
Yes.
You're a
Yes.
political philosopher right now. I want you to walk through a series of questions with me, right?
Okay.
So based on your experience in politics, what has been your biggest pain? Your biggest hurt, your biggest pain?
The stab which I got from a partner who I worked with in a previous movement. That was my biggest pain.
A stab? What does that mean?
Well, it felt like a stab. It was when I was unceremoniously kicked out of the party that I had formed, and on charges which were false and wholly untrue. And the fact is, some people believe. That was my biggest pain, political pain. It was like a dagger going way deep in my back. I have not recovered from it, but I'm working at it. That was tough because what that did, it derailed what was a very promising movement that could have possibly changed the fortunes of our entire country.
I agree, because the energy at the time was different.
Yes.
I remember.
That set me back and set Dominica back years, and that was a miscalculation which hurts me, not because I was kicked, but because of the Dominica had built up a sort of acceptance, and then to see this happen, it was painful. That was my biggest and hardest political blow.
What's been your biggest joy?
The biggest joy is working with Carlos.
How
Working
so?
with Carlos, yeah, and seeing that he believes in me,
Mm-hmm.
that he trusts me, and the things that he tells me is what I would have liked to have been told when I worked with other people. That Carlos gives me the greatest political joy right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He
What
believes.
do you say that line again?
I say, yeah, he believes. At least just believing that at least I'm trying.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me the joy.
Mm-hmm. What do you never want to experience politically again?
Betrayal, betrayal.
Is that I was going to say, is that possible? But I'm
It's
not.
possible, but I hope it's not Carlos. I hope it's somebody else.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I do not. Political betrayal
Mm-hmm. It's painful.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Based on your experience, what do you want? What do you want in the future?
Just to just for people to at least give me a chance to contribute within my capacity what I think I can do for the development of our country
Mm-hmm.
in any field, culture, politics, music, sports, although I'm a bit older now, but anything I can do, mentorship, lecturing, teaching, whatever, just give me a chance
Mm-hmm.
to at least work with a program to better the lives of people in the future.
Mm-hmm. And the strategic part of my brain is asking, what if they don't give you a chance?
I will eventually wither away, and I could become one of the people who had disappeared and you never hear about them. I think I can be that person.
Okay. What if, can I offer you an alternative?
What is it?
That you create the opportunity versus wait for the chance.
Well, I tried in the past,
Uh-huh.
and look at what it landed me. Look at where it landed me. So I'm not too sure whether I have the energy or whether I even have the drive to try to create now, because I've been talking about unity and strength, and people are making fun at me.
Mm-hmm.
The same people I told that we should unite, they didn't do it. No, I'm trying to do it outside of them. They
Mm-hmm.
said, when you left us and now you're asking us to unite. But when I was with you, I was telling you to do the same thing you wasn't doing, so I'm trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too sure that I have the energy anymore to try to be the driving force. I just want to remain in the back and do the little that I can do. I do not want to be leader of Dominica. I don't want to get into the politics.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's been your biggest lesson?
Biggest lesson,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I had not been as assertive as I am being with you today.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been in the back pushing people forward. I think I should have stepped a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Had I done that earlier, I think things would have been different for me. So
And
my
what is it like for you now as you find yourself doing that more?
oh, I'm happy now. I'm in a good place. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm relieved.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can say things that I never would have said before.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say so much more, but I don't want to say to hurt anybody. So I'm very relieved that I'm able to articulate my views. And this is the first time, that I'm speaking, Dr. Triffy, because nobody else called me for interview, The people on a station that I used to be on every day, they never called me, it blows on me every day. Every opportunity to be on the radio was taken away from me,
Mm-hmm.
You are the only person who has given me an interview in 4 years, 5 years of my day by, in politics. I had a discussion with Diana once, but I was
Mm-hmm.
before that. I had a
Mm-hmm.
discussion with
Wow.
Simone. It was
Yeah.
not necessarily about that. You are the only person who called me, respected me, gave
Mm-hmm.
me a meeting before. We
Mm-hmm.
agreed on how we were going to do discussion. I shared documents with you. I
Right.
mean, the only person, no one else
Right.
gave me this. So at least I feel a little relieved that I've dropped some of the weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
do not want to have that interview again. We can talk again, but about maybe
Mm-hmm.
my books
Exactly.
and stuff
Because
like that.
you've done that.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
That is my only exit I've had since.
Wow. Well, I feel that makes me feel good, makes me feel happy that you said yes to the opportunity to do that.
You have Carlos to thanks for that, because I had a communication with him after the meeting, and
Mm-hmm.
he, not begged, but he kind of told me, I need it for my healing, and I said, okay.
What do you think now that we're finished?
I think he was right. Yeah, I think he was right. Uh, and you were right. You didn't finish, but your strength, Doc, your strength. And what sold it for me is because I watched you work and I liked you before. I felt I would be safe with you. I felt you
Mhm.
would protect me if I became, and I have not feel uncomfortable. I got a little emotional, but I think your strength has balanced me off, and I'm happy that I took the interview with you.
Feel good.
Yeah.
So Gregory says he gets what he gets you, and that we're to exile for a moment and go back as lions and lionesses.
Oh yeah, man.
Carlos says, "Thank you, Auntie." Sorry, Dr. Tripping, for this interview. Alex knows I'm in his corner and believe in his direction, and I firmly believe with guys like Dr. Tripping and Professor Bruno, this vision which I had this time last year will be materialized.
That's nice of him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Chris says, no, he didn't detect any lies. Yeah, because, yeah, we're just having a conversation. And my purpose in doing these interviews is to talk and to share and to learn from each other. That's I think that's what life's about. Maybe because that's the work I do, but I see the value in that. I think we miss a lot because we allow our differences
Yeah.
to stop us from communicating.
And
That
in the
was a
way.
horrible mistake we made as a country. And trust me, I've gotten serious negative feedback, like attempts to encourage me or gently or not gently to keep quiet.
Oh yeah.
But I'm an adult. I don't live my life like that. So why would I start now? Because people are uncomfortable.
That's what I told myself. If at my stage,
Like what?
I cannot say what I think
Like like what
in the
have
most respectful way. C'est plus tout maman.
absolutely, like what would you have become? Like that piece I don't get, mm, the level of surrender that many people have, given into. And yeah, it's just a very strange idea for me.
And people who are big, who are established, who are accomplished,
Right.
who are financially well endowed,
Stable, right.
I'm like, really? I must whisper this. I must hide. I
Yeah,
must not say it.
right.
No, man, no.
It's quite funny to me.
Mm,
But I laugh, but it's a serious thing because
no problem.
many other people feel the pressure, and so they've bought into this artificial way. So I hope we can remind them that there's power in their voice, and they have a responsibility really to use their voice for their highest good. Hmm?
Well, not everybody will, but we just need a few new, fresh voices.
Absolutely.
There are some echoes, old, archaic political echoes in Dominica, not
Mhm.
because of the present set. No?
Right.
It
Old,
goes
old
way,
colonial style
yeah.
vestiges.
It still maintains, the Dominican system.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we have to get rid of that. We have to at least dull, blunten the echoes and create a new vibe.
Absolutely.
So
We
we
have to
need,
evolve.
yeah, so we need people who understand that ethos to step in and say, look, I'm going to help guide it.
Hmm.
But doc is me alone, me at one point, and people telling me, do that, do that, do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Who you have, I cannot join you, but who you have.
Right.
Why can't I have you? And why can't you come with me? And why can't we do it?
Right.
So we just need a few people who are willing to step in and to become involved in the governance of our
Mhm.
country.
That's it. To assume responsibility as citizens.
That is it. And if we have that, we're good.
That's it. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alex. All
Yes.
but Dr. Alex Bruno. I really appreciate your um, honesty. You didn't hold back, Alex.
Yeah.
You didn't hold back. Very clear, very thoughtful.
I really hope that no one really thinks that I kind of went after them because I do not know how to do that. If had I known how to do that, I would have probably done it already.
Mm-hmm.
I just try to present certain things, especially to protect my honor and my dignity and my profession.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that people would believe I would falsify information and I would deceive people with wrong information, that is not right. So I wanted to say a few things, and it's just a few things. And you see how the politics work. I do not know what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but if I face a backlash,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I might declare certain things that I really probably shouldn't. Because
Well, I don't believe in shoulds and shouldn'ts except if they are illegal, immoral, unethical.
good. So if they come at me again with the crap that they have been coming at me, I will declassify the documents that I've given you. You have them,
Mm-hmm.
and I will show Dominicans in black and white, printed on my social media, everything I said, how I said it, when I said it, what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is just not fair that some would just sit back conveniently and watch a brother burn
Right.
because they want to be absolved from their wrongdoings.
One um it's a blessing to work or to have been trained to to be a mental health professional, because you learn to separate people's words. Like that is so, like, you learn to you seriously do, you learn to separate people's words from you. Like a person's word has no impact on me unless I
Mhm.
allow it. I really do not care. When I remember times when I used to care.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember when I was younger, I used to care, but you just learn to appreciate that that's where the person is today. That's just their thought process today. And no matter how hard you try, you might not be able to change a person's mind. And that's really not your job. And
No,
it's okay. Mhm.
no, you're right.
And it's okay.
So I am at a good place myself. I think training,
Mhm.
professional training is key. If somebody
Yeah,
can get professionally trained, guys, do it. It really makes a difference.
absolutely.
Gives you a sense of tolerance, respect, graciousness, humility. Anyone who is so-called qualified
Absolutely.
academically and is walking with their hands up like that,
That's not an
something is
edu-
not.
You missed out. You missed a lesson, didn't you?
Yeah. You
You missed.
can never be qualified at a certain level and not be humble.
Yes, you missed a lesson.
You've missed a lesson or two.
So as we wrap up, I want your final takeaway, and then you're always saying good night. What's your final takeaway?
Eh bien, merci pour ma montée chance pour venir là hier soir, pour parler de parole. I have
You,
never enjoyed an interview as much as I did this
c'est bon, ça bon, ça bon.
one. I have not done many, but
Mm.
this is going to be remembered. I think it's going to be one of my most memorable ones.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for believing that I had a story to tell and for allowing me to tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't necessarily want to tell that story again because it's already told.
Right.
I'm looking forward to speaking with you again. Let us do something, maybe about the books I'm working on or anything about Dominica.
Absolutely.
In the future, I'll be more than happy to join you again.
Yes.
But Messi Appeal, thank you. God bless you and
Mm-hmm.
continue doing your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, y'all. Thank you all so much for listening. Next week, Thursday, on my Transforming Trauma podcast, I'm talking to a young lady from Dominica. She wrote a book called Pink Agriculture. Pink Agriculture.
Wow.
You're going to be learning about her during the week because I want to keep talking about her. I think that is so powerful. She's talking about women in agriculture and young people in agriculture. And I personally believe all wealth in Dominica is in the land. That's my personal belief.
Of course.
I think many people these days, some people might fight me down about it, but I think that's where all wealth is. And I'm very excited to talk with her. So look out for the postings and the promotions about it. Okay. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Alex, thank you again.
Messi Appeal.
Merci un pile, à la prochaine. Bye.